If my people Bible reading, part 182, the book of Matthew. And let's grab a piece of chapter 16 here. Verse 6, Torah. Be careful, Yeshua said to them. Be on your guard against the yeast of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. But we don't have any feast yeast of the Pharisees and Sadducees. We have preachers and ministers and pastors and leaderships in the church, elders who were taught by the same. If you're taught something erroneously and you make it a fact and tradition becomes yearly tradition, and then that's passed on, and it's not true, and it should not be true, and it actually will hurt the kingdom to come, don't do it. So how do we apply that today? Be on your guard against the yeast of the Pharisees. Oh, it's okay to have Santa Claus and Christmas. Okay, we know for a fact, we know without even a fact, we know in our hearts, we know in our heads, we know by reading the Word, we know by looking at the Mazzaroth and the stars, we know that Yeshua was born about the end of September, the first week of October during Fall Tabernacles. We know he spent 18 months in the ministry, not 3 years. We know that, we know that he did walk in the set apart of the temple on Kislev 25, which would be considered Christmas today. That was not the temple. It was the set apart place. It was the colonnade of Solomon. It was where people go to gather. And it didn't say anything about there because it was a holiday or holy day. We know that Hanukkah was, as it says, and if you read all the books, it makes it very clearly, it is not in this Bible whatsoever. And in the added in books that you don't read, most Christians don't read, it says that, and the people and the Jews decided to make it a day. Didn't say a holy day, didn't say a Kadosh day, didn't say a Tov. They just made it Tov, a good day. They didn't say Tov, they just said they made it a day, like of observing. They made it. Then they came up with the Purim on another circumstance with the. It is not a holiday. It is not a holy day. It is not a appointed time. We know that Halloween turned into All Hallows Eve, which turned in the following day of the ghosts and goblins and demons and worship, and none of that. And then we know the Christian church turned around and came up with the Christian Christmas, and then came up with Lent to contradict, to have a competition with the Jewish synagogues, with Purim. We know that. It's there. It's been studied and studied into dust. So that's a Torah. Watch out for that and don't do it anymore. Okay. Got it? We got it. Verse 24, chapter 16. Then Yeshua said to his disciples, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Now, we've ended it, the last one with that, which is 181. That does not mean good times for everybody, folks. So how do I think that? I plan for the worst and hope for the best. I will take up my cross. I will do exactly what the Torah says here. So am I a Torah follower? Yes. I don't deny it. Do I follow all the Torah of the Old Covenant? No. Paul said, Yeshua said, Jesus said, we're not under that. We're not under the condemnation, because there in the Old Covenant, as we've said before and again, we're not under the condemnation. So if you make one Torah mistake, you are subject to hell. Separation from the Father forever. That doesn't go. Yeshua says, as we've read in 181, that if Yeshua says you can even say bad things against me, my name Yeshua. You can even call me Jesus. You can even call me son of Zeus. Son of Zeus. son of Zeus. I paid a lot of money to make a big brick and lay it in a foundation of a college because I wanted to talk about this son of Zeus. That's what it means. That's Greek. It means Jesus. Jesus. I think I even wrote it in the back. I even wrote it back. Jesus. But I know Jesus' name is salvation, Yeshua. And I know that his father's name is, in the phonetics, Yod He Vav He. Yod He Vav He. Yod He Vav He. Now that's phonetics. So is that exactly how his name goes? No, that's in the phonetics. But I know, well, then you can't call him that. It's better than calling him God, G-O-D. Chapter 17. After 6 days, Yeshua took with him Peter, Yaakov, and John, the brother of Yaakov, and led them up to a high mountain by themselves. In prior verses, this is very close to what would be Mount Hermon today. That's a pretty high mountain, by the way. There he was transfigured before them. His face was shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as light. And he appeared before them. Before them appeared Moses and Elijah. We can get a lot of stories with that. Will we see them again? You're going to see Moses and Elijah again. Are those the two witnesses coming in the Revelation? I don't know. I don't know. I figured if it was that important, Yahweh would have told us. It would have been in the Word. It's not in there, so you know what? I don't argue with it. I don't have series on it and all this other stuff that other people do. Kind of important here, chapter 19. Yeshua had finished saying these things. He left Galilee and went in the region of Judea on the other side of the Jordan. Large crowds followed him, and he healed them there, and some Pharisees came to him and testing. Here we go again. They asked, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any and every reason? Well, haven't you read, he replied, that at the beginning the Creator made them male and female, and for this reason a man will leave his mother and his father and be united to his wife, and the two shall become echad, one flesh, so that they are no longer two but one. Therefore Elohim, what Elohim has joined together, let man not separate. And then because of the hardness of the heart and so forth, Yeshua says, yeah, you can get a divorce. I don't want to happen, but it's talked about this several times. And don't get involved in the courts, which most people do. Don't get involved in the court system. So that is why, unfortunately, the great majority of Christians, over 50%, are divorced. Now, I've talked about that putting multiple seed in you, and if you are divorced and married again, and you love Jesus and you love God and all that stuff, and you're a Christian and you can only take so much milk, don't get me off the milk. I can't take the meat, and I'm also lactate tolerant. Then you may say, well, Bruce, are you saying that I'm a great sinner because I'm married again? I'm not judging you on that. That's one of the commands. Don't judge your brother. Don't judge him. Assume that he knows what he's doing better than you think that he should be doing. Should he try to live his life without having to do that? Absolutely. Can he continue to live without getting married? He will burn in his loins if he doesn't get married and have some kind of relationship continually going an entire life. Although he's not duplicating more children, he's just enjoying the sex that goes with it. There's some warning that I would say there, and that is DNA. When DNA gets in you and you got multiple women's DNA in you and women have multiple men's DNA, and I won't even speak about the incredible sin of mixing with animals and other people in the same sex and all that stuff. Goodness sakes. I'm just saying a male and a female. You're going to have different opinions and different thoughts, and sometimes you can't make up your mind. You've got someone else's DNA in you, and they in you. That's pretty detailed. It's not in the Bible like that, but you can pull out of it and take a look at it. But there's a warning against it. It's a huge warning in the Bible against it. So take the word for what it says. Verse 11, Yeshua replied, "Not everyone can accept this word, but only those to whom it's been given." The question was that the disciples said to him, "If this is the situation between a husband and wife, it is better not to marry at all." Yeshua said, "Not everyone can accept this word, but only those who has been given. For some," now listen what he's about to say, because we mentioned it before in other readings. Verse 12, "For some are eunuchs, because they were born that way." So all you Christian pastors out there who slam dunk and now you've finally given up and let everybody in your church as a member and they can do whatever they want and the pastors can do whatever they want to because they joined the world. Yeshua is making it very plain here. He says you were born that way. They were born that way through altered DNA, through I can tell you this part that I do know. I lived in the St. Louis area. I used to study the water systems. I used to work for the water department, St. Louis County Water Department, before it became American Water, whatever. And there are over 300 different compounds of hormones of women in the water that people drink in St. Louis County. Women take hormones and therapy and alternate drugs and all that, and they urinate. It goes into the water, and the water comes out, and it's refiltered and made water again, and people drink it. That DNA and that altered water, those hormones of female hormones are drank by men and women and little boys. And then women have children that live in this area, and they have female hormones like crazy in the water. And you don't think that's going to change the male DNA of little babies? You don't? Well, you're wrong. And it's just St. Louis. It's worldwide. What women do because they think they have the right and the authority, because they want to take all this hormone therapy now because somebody thinks they should. And Lord knows you always have to listen to what the doctors say. All right? Well, you're polluting the water system. There are 3,000 different chemical compounds in the water of St. Louis. There are 300 dealing with hormones. And that stuff doesn't come out. You can't, unless you boil it like crazy. And I doubt that all comes out there. So, then he says this, others were made that way by men. And others have renounced marriage because of the kingdom of heaven. So how does that answer up with what Yeshua is talking about here? That means this, and if you listen to Isaiah, in which I took you back before, it says this. If you were born that way, if you were made that way, or you made a decision that you think you are a female when in fact you're a male, or you're a male and you think you're a female, all those combinations, don't do it. Don't commit the sin. Just don't have sexual relationships at all. Don't commit the sin. And your kingdom, you may go into the kingdom and have no children after you, but your kingdom, there will be a place in his kingdom for you. He says that. So there's the answer, Mr. Preacher, Mr. Minister, all you stupid clown idiots in charge of the churches that are telling the sheep the exact opposite. Plus, you even have pastors and ministers who are actively gay, lesbian, transsexuals, all the elemental G, elemental P, what is it I called it some time ago? All the difference, including bestiality, is now allowed in some churches. So the LBGTQIABUN people, they're all in the church. So what is the difference between an institutional church and Hasatan, synagogue of Satan, and the synagogue and the church of Satan and hell? Nothing. Nothing. And one of them that I harped at because my parents went there was the United Methodist Church. Holy smokes, they allowed all this stuff since 2006. So, sorry, I got nothing absolutely positive to say about people who actively, openly push this kind of nonsense, and in the name of Jesus, they do it. But make sure you make your daily and monthly offerings for them so they have lots of money to build stuff. Okay. All right. It'll be better next time we get together. Hang in there. Hope I made you laugh a little bit.